Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the P-LotPodcast, the midweek edition of our show. And, perfect timing, Michael.
Yeah.
The main man himself. He was so before I hit the button to go live. Michael was, I don't know, fixing something or doing
I dropped my headphones case, and I was trying to
something.
find.
And
I
I was
couldn't
wondering if
find
he
it.
was going to be here, sit down at the exact moment when the show would go live, and he, lo
And
and
I
behold,
found
he
it.
did. So we're off to a good start. Kind of like the Eagles had got off to a good start against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, yeah, they did.
They did get
Um,
it, yes.
they
And
broke the
then
losing streak. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but
we
keep
have
going.
some hot stove news. So the Philadelphia Phillies um, made a couple moves since we did the our last show. Now the big one the other day was that the signed former World Series champion and probably would have been a bigger move if they acquired him last year. The Phillies signed right fielder Adolis Garcia, formerly of the Texas Rangers. Now, he's your Kepler replacement and might also be your Casty replacement at the same exact time.
Yeah, it's a signing that has received a mixed bag of thoughts, I'd say, from the general fan base and alike. Um, 1 year, $10 million. It's not expensive or anything, but it's not cheap either. Um, to be really, he's going to be your Castellanos replacement, I think, initially, because he's just going to play every day. Um, and, you know, he hasn't really been a good offensive player in a couple years now. He can still hit for some power. He has pretty good metrics in terms of hard hit rate and barrel percentage. Um, But the problem is that, he's just seen both a physical decline in terms of his athleticism and just ability since his best form of 2023. Um, he's not super young. I think he's what, 33 years old, 34 years old.
He is 32 years old, and yes, looking at
When does
his.
he turn 33?
Unfortunately, Baseball Savant does not list his birthday.
Really?
We'll look up baseball
He's
reference.
32. He turns 33 before opening day. He turns 33 in March. So,
So I don't think he is going to be an everyday player for the Phillies because of his age, and I think the general decline. I think a big reason why he's kind of declined is probably due to his age. And the thing though is also that we brought up. Like Dave Dombrowski brought up what the outfield would kind of look like. It sounds like to me that Justin Crawford is going to be in line for basically being an everyday player in left field. Like the outfield
mm,
right now
they made yeah, go ahead.
looks like Justin Crawford in left, Brandon Marsh in center, and then in right field it's going to be Adolis Garcia. And I would also imagine that Otto Kemp, because he's not really third base is not really his position. He's going to be a first base, left field, right field, like utility player. And then there's obviously you're not going to like the sound of this, but I'm going to imagine Weston Wilson and Johan Rojas will also be in the mix, being But I'm
Yeah,
also
so
wondering how many options does Johan Rojas have left, and so does Weston Wilson. Like they don't really,
yeah, I mean,
they don't have many left.
right. You laid, like, the whole thing out for sure. The only I think they're gonna try Crawford in center because they thought Marsh was gonna be able
Wow.
to do it, and they don't love him in center field, so I think they wanna try Crawford, but I think they're gonna find the same result and not love him out there as similarly to Marsh. They're very similar fielders. Um, but as far as the outfield goes, it does also feel like Otto Kemp's gonna be platooning with Brandon Marsh. in left, I would say. And listen, the positives of Adolis Garcia on an everyday basis, because it does feel like he's just going to play every day. He's a significantly better fielder than pretty much all of your corner outfielders last year, besides Marsh, but he played a lot of the year in center. Um, he is a much better defender than Nick Castellanos, and while some of his defensive metrics are a little inflated due to his big arm and stuff, he still is just gonna be such a visible improvement that you're gonna see pretty much on a gamely basis. The range isn't as good as it once was, but it's still tenfold better than what we've been seeing the last 4 years, and we finally have an outfielder that actually has a strong arm. That feels like we haven't had one of those in a really long time. Adolis Garcia is one of the best in baseball, and he hits the ball hard and has some right-handed pop, which is nice. But the the defects to him, I guess, is that he's about as free swinger as Nick Castellanos was. People get mad when they chase and strike out in that way, and he's not going to be a huge difference in terms of that. It just hopefully is going to be doing more damage when he does put the bat on the ball. Um, and the other issue with his offense is he really isn't a lefty killer, or at least hasn't been for a little bit. Like last year, hit 199 against lefties, didn't slug very much against them, and that's not wonderful for a guy that's probably gonna be hitting right behind, Harper, either right behind Harper or Schwarber, or, depending on what else they do with the team, in, like, that 6th to 8th spot, surrounded by the lefties that are probably going to be here. Like, we know Harper and Schwarber, obviously, but Stott as well is gonna be there, and Marsh is gonna be there, so to him kinda hit in and around those guys, he needs to be able to punish left-handed relief pitching, especially. He needs to be able to have an at bat when they put in a lefty for Marsh or whoever, and be a guy that's going to make them pay. And that's just not something they've really had since like Reese. And it's before, like, even that was questionable at times, but the big encompassing problem is that, like, that's supposed to be Alec Bohm. That's supposed to be your 6'5" third baseman. Is supposed to be your left-handed hitter protection and be able to do all the stuff, and he's just your slap hitter. So he really isn't that scary for teams to bring in a lefty. They're not worried about the Bohm at bat. So it'd be nice if Adolis Garcia can step up and drive the ball, especially against left-handed pitching. That'd be great, and make teams scared. The other good thing about him that profiles well is he pulls the ball in the air a lot, and you know, right-handed hitters that pull the ball in the air at Citizens Bank Park tend to have great success. That's why Reese Hoskins was so good. That's part of why Jason Worth was so good. It's why Mike Franco was even good for a stretch of time as a guy that just pulled the ball in the air all the time because he hit home runs. And Globe Life has been such a pitcher-friendly ballpark the last few years, kind of to a crazy level. And we know that Citizens Bank Park's still top
Yeah,
10 to
yeah.
5 and
It's
hitter
funny
friendly. So,
because the Rangers' previous stadium at I forget what
the
it's called,
first
like
one, yeah.
Arlington. Those referred as Arlington. Ballpark
Mhm.
was that it was a soap. It was a bandbox. It was very hitter
Mhm.
friendly. Like you just Adrian Beltre, when he left the Red Sox, he got a lot of his Hall of Fame like batting numbers playing with the Rangers because if
Mhm.
you recall him as a Dodger and a Mariner, like the rap on Adrian Beltre was, best defensive third baseman in baseball, solid hitter. He goes to the Rangers, best defensive third baseman in baseball, really good hitter because he was playing in like a hit in that like a hitter's paradise. I like the Adolis Garcia move from the perspective of like this is an additional piece that you know you'd hope he's more receptive to like the Phillies analytics. Like the big issue they had last year, Michael, was there's two guys that are not going to be with this team anymore that really just didn't listen to I think Kevin Long and like the Phillies analytics department, Max Kepler and Nick Castellanos. That's why Casty is the Phillies and the Castellanos have essentially agreed to a divorce, essentially, right? They're going to most likely release him or come to a buyout. And Kepler, if you recall, for most of the year, he was just like, oh, this is so frustrating. Like, I think he was frustrated with the Phillies were trying to tell him to do. And then when he actually started doing it, I would say the last 6, 8 weeks of the season, he was a productive player. But, and they might bring him back. I mean, do you think?
I don't think so. They
I
they
think
they've
I think
they've
they'd
said
rather
it a
just
couple
give that
times. They're not going to bring it
just
back.
give they want to have Carl Crawford, Justin Crawford up as opposed to bringing Kepler and sticking Craw.
Yeah, right. So bringing
This is really more of an this is more of a
it's not addition by subtraction because they're still adding a player
well Justin
that's going to be
Crawford in
better.
terms of like a guy that is heralded. When I say heralded, I mean like this is a top 50 to 35 prospect in baseball for the Phillies who is going to be given every day at bats.
Yeah,
Presumably,
I mean they're doing things that people
asking them
want
to
it really
do.
both ways with the Phillies, obviously, but this is, sick of running it back with the same old guys and the same old this and the same old that. And like what they're, if you really want that to happen, but they also want, oh, you got to sign this guy. Like, so they're all over the place. What they're doing and what they're planning on doing is giving Justin Crawford replacements of what you've been trying to do in left field for like 3 years with your Whit Merrifields, with your Max Kepler. Here comes Justin Crawford. Like that's the replacement for that. That is supposed to be a supplemental piece, a young piece that's going to bring you juice and help things out.
Do you know
Dolis
that
Garcia
Justin
is also a
Crawford
juice
last
thing.
year was the youngest everyday player in AAA? Like that's how
Right.
fast
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
gone through the
So,
Phillies system.
yeah. And the other part of it is too, they're not planning on Aiden Miller by opening day or anything close, but they are, I think, ready to give him a fast track if he starts off hot in AAA and, is looking like he could maybe provide a spark, especially if some players are underperforming. But what I'm worried about, I guess, generally with the offense is if like this is truly just it, they're going to bring back JT and not really do anything else and just kind of run this back as a
I'm
lineup.
not so.
I'm worried that's what they're going to do.
I so here's the thing though: is remember last year we complained and then they traded for Jesus Luzardo.
I'm not talking about a pitcher. I know Dave can swindle for a pitcher. Like I don't need that this time. Can you swindle me for a bat?
I mean, would you trade like Strom to like the Mariners for like Randy or Rosarena?
I think about it, and that's a good segue. Let's talk about the bullpen. The Phillies made another signing today. They signed Brad Keller, 2 years, 22 million. Potential, Jeff Hoffman career arc for this guy. Former starter, failed starter, had thoracic outlet syndrome. Saw a velocity jump from 93 to 97 last year to this year. Has really good statistics. I mean, he had a 2.07 ERA in 69 and two-thirds innings, 75 strikeouts. He had .96 WHIP. His baseball savant page is really beautiful, and he's
Sorry,
very similar.
that look I just gave you was me on a Savant page going from 2025 to 2024.
Yeah, yeah, big drop off, and you know, it's a very similar pitch mix to Orion Kerkering, and it's a legitimate high leverage arm. It's a guy that really is a key piece to the bridge to Duran. And if you look at the bullpen as it stands now, it's really good, man. You got Duran back there, Brad Keller, Matt
Well,
Strom.
Brad Keller.
Uh,
So what on? Just let me ask you a question. When it says in Baseball Savant, when it says extension, is that how far his front leg goes out when he pitches?
this is how far his arm, how it's like how close his arm is to the plate when the ball is released. Is that right? I might have just lied. Hold
Well,
on.
the one difference besides obviously like the other key stats is
Yeah, it's how far your foot goes.
he's definitely made adjustments to his delivery because his extension is much lower this year than it was in previous years.
Hmm.
In 2024, he was primarily coming out of the bullpen, and he just was obviously he was just banged up. You know,
How far off the mound the pitcher releases the pitch. So yeah, he has a low extension because he doesn't stride that far. You see a lower extension usually with relievers, um,
he's a big
because
guy, 6 foot
yeah,
five, 255 pounds.
well, he's a wide guy. Like that's he's not really letting it
Yeah,
all.
listen, like when you're a failed starter and you have like, you know, decent stuff, you transition to the bullpen once you give up trying to be a starting pitcher. And listen, like I think that's the big caveat here. Like I first looked at his numbers and I was kind of scared, like, oh my, is this the only year he's been good? Which it is. And then
It's only year's reliever. Like that's
he's a reliever, so you're like, this is like it feels like this was probably the contract the Phillies offered Jeff Hoffman last year, and he turned it down and got a much better one from the Blue Jays. And then unfortunately, he's kind of like the scapegoat for the Blue Jays, even though it's not really all his fault.
no, yeah, whatever. Regardless, doesn't matter. But
Regardless, but
um, the interesting thing to look at moving forward with this is the Mets also signed Luke Weaver to the same contract, 2 years, 22 million, and those are, you know, they're essentially two very similar late inning, high leverage relievers that are going to be used as kind of
both
like a
failed
bridge to your
starters.
closer. Yeah, sure, like all of that stuff, and it'll be interesting to see the next 2 years how they do, and if the Phillies got the better one, because I think it'd be a similar reaction if they signed Luke Weaver as if they signed, Brad Keller like they did. So I think this is a good move, and as the bullpen stands now, it's pretty good. We'll see what more they do if they shed off some guys that try to help out the offense. The big guys are the 3 lefties, I think those are your biggest question marks. Strom's been good, but he's definitely declining physically. Tanner Banks with his first good year as a reliever, really, and, we know how volatile that can be, and obviously, Jose Alvarado coming back, after his suspension and then his injury, and hopefully he can look like he has in the past as a really good reliever, but there's definitely risks with all 3 of
The
those
guy they
guys.
picked up from the Rays in the in during, and then the guy we got in the Rule 5 draft too.
Yeah, those 2 are righties, so you gotta worry about how the lefty situation is gonna look.
It does feel like Strom will most likely be moved, but the Phillies aren't going to
It's
move
tough because
him.
Strom's good, man, like, just straight up, he is good, he is reliable, you could throw him out very often, and it's just a worry if you're trading that away and you don't adequately replace it or just assume that guys like, "Oh, Alvarado will step up and be fine." I know you can't l focus everything on the playoffs, but odds are if you do get there, you're gonna have to go to the through the Dodgers again. And you saw pretty great success just spamming lefties to Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman the entire series. Those 2 guys didn't really do much against you because you just threw a bunch of lefties at them and they couldn't do anything. Um, so I think it's nice to have plenty of lefties to be able to turn to, especially come playoff time. But we'll have to wait and see what they end up doing.
There's also one last guy you wanted to talk about
Oh
who
yeah, we could talk about this a little bit too. So Tatsuya Imai, right-handed pitcher from Japan, is going to be. He is posted, still hasn't signed, but the Phillies are one of the 3 teams most heaviest links to, I should say. The reports for the Cubs and Yankees are the finalists, but the Phillies have been mentioned every step of the way, and I think would be kind of a better fit for what he's trying to do. He has said he doesn't want to come to a team that already has some Japanese players on it. We know the Cubs have, Seiya Suzuki and Shota Imanaga. So those are, two guys from the Japanese league. And, the Yankees, it'd be a tremendous amount of pressure going over there to be essentially the ace until um, Garrett Cole comes back from injury. But if he comes here, the pressure would definitely not be as high. He'd still get everything he wants, and he has an opportunity to beat the Dodgers like he said he wants, and can help out an East Coast team. So we'll see. I don't think the Cubs will be as serious as the Yankees will be, and hopefully the Phillies are as serious as some of the reports have indicated. We can't forget they did offer more money to Yoshinobu Yamamoto than the Dodgers, but he elected to go to the Dodgers. This time, it feels like if you offer the most money, he's going to come here. I don't think the payroll has changed tremendously enough to want to chicken out from this
Well,
money now, like
yeah,
he
I
didn't
don't think
do
the
last
Phillies
year.
would like kind of finagle Schwarber's contract in this first series, only getting 15 million.
I still think that actually counts as 30 against the tax. I don't think it's as, like, creative as we thought it was initially.
Okay. I would
It
say
is
though,
weird, though. It is a little weird.
I-
Maybe
I'll
it's
say
just to
I'm going
give
to
him the
say
money.
this though, like for the Phillies, it does kind of feel like Dave Dombrowski is getting up there in age. He's been an executive for a very long time. Like this is probably his last stop, but at the same time, like it's going to be the Preston Mattingly show, probably like full time. Like
Preston's quite good, man. Like, I like
so,
him.
I would imagine that this is somebody that they think could be like the Ranger replacement because Ranger's going to get a huge contract. Like the Boston Red Sox ownership group, Fenway, they just sold the Pittsburgh Penguins for $1.7 billion. I would not be surprised if the Boston Red Sox made Ranger Suarez insanely wealthy
Yeah, I mean,
within the
it's
next month or so.
more likely than anything he is gonna go, and, you do have internal options to replace him, with Andrew Painter being the big one, but I think it would behoove them to still get a starter, so you could also free up money by moving Taiwan. Like, you should actually be able to trade Taiwan, I'd say fairly easily. 1 year on expiring, he showed that he was pretty versatile and very steady
But
at
you
the
also
back
have
of
to
a
pay half. I mean,
rotation.
if Taiwan was a free agent this year, he would most likely get like the Keller contract, if not maybe
Yeah,
a little more.
sure, probably a little more, but maybe only 1 year. Um,
Like 1 year, 13 million. So you could probably trade him, pay half his contract, and maybe acquire another player at a position that you could need that might,
sure,
maybe
whether it's a
like
bull,
a
whatever it is.
reliever or maybe an infielder. But we'll see. Obviously, I don't think the Phillies are done. The Phillies they're hawking season ticket packages. They're trying to sell tickets. Right now, the excitement's very low. I could definitely tell like that's the kind of temperature I think right now at the Phillies because of how the season ended and it's Christmas time and the only real way to bring excitement back up I think would be a signing an Alex Bregman or a Kyle Tucker or making a big trade, which
I don't think you're getting Kyle Tucker, but
no, I would say
we'll
Kyle
see.
Tucker will maybe be a New York Yankee. It's kind of or a Boston Red Sox.
Sure.
I would say.
So, anyways,
Anyway,
let's get into football. Let's pivot. The Eagles broke their losing streak with a shutout victory at home against the Raiders.
yeah, I was very bearish on the Eagles last week. I think I was hoping if I picked against them, they would win because I feel like I do that a lot on purpose. I pick against them and then they win, and I'd rather sacrifice that L.
I think you're just patting yourself on the back because you've been picking against them previously and they've lost. So,
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
actually picked Dallas, Chicago, and the Chargers. So,
So I should have picked them to win, is what you're saying.
I'm just saying I don't think there's a built-in, security blanket by picking against them
I blame
at the way
Patullo.
it's gone. Sure. But they dismantled the Raiders, they dominated them in every sense of the word. It was about as perfect as a football game as I think you could play. Um, the defense was impeccable, great tackling. They they just killed him, really. Kenny Pickett had nowhere to go, Genty had nowhere to run, everyone was getting involved. It was truly tremendous.
You know what it felt like to me, Michael? It felt like when the Eagles, when Andy Reid was the head coach, and they would play some like literally some of the like the worst teams in the league, and they would just stomp them the entire time, and then you would see AJ Feely or oh gosh, like Kevin Cobb come in to play a quarter. That's what basically wound up happening was the game was over by like middle of the third quarter, and then they took their foot off the gas and were like, "Oh, let's get Tanner some reps. Hey,
Mhm.
let's get Tank his first NFL touchdown," which friend of the show Chris Haffey had.
That's
He
first
live
NFL touchdown,
he live
first
bet
Eagles touchdown.
Tank Bigsby for his first Eagle touchdown.
Yeah,
Didn't
and
get
he
it.
almost got it, but he didn't. But yeah, the offense was really good. Again, you got to take things how you can only take things against a team like the Raiders. However, there were still things to be encouraged by. They ran a lot more of duo again, out of under center. And listen, for whatever reason, whether it's health, whether it's they're washed, whether it's just a combination of everything, lack of continuity, lane, whatever, the offensive line is just not as capable as they were last year in their one-on-ones. Last year, they were really able to kind of just dominate anybody on the defensive line one-on-one. There was very few guys that were getting beat pretty consistently, and now it seems like every single time they're getting beat consistently one-on-one. It's very rare that you see an offensive lineman win consistently his one-on-ones in the run game on the Eagles thus far. But they're running a lot more double team. They ran a lot more double teams against the Raiders, a lot of their duo game, and when they double team, Jurgens and Dickerson usually do a great job. Steen and Jurgens are doing a great job. Um, you know, Mailata and Dickerson were doing better. So they're creating a lot of displacement when they do their double teams, and it gives Saquon just some room to work with, letting him
Yeah,
get
and if you
4 yards
you know
downfield
what, if you
before
do
a
think
contact.
about it, till last year, when they made a lot of their changes during the bye last year, we'll pull up the 2024 Eagles schedule. Those changes didn't like you didn't see like dividends from that.
It was like the Giants game is when you really saw it
Even
a
that
little bit.
Giants team was like literally one of the worst teams in the league. Which, well, guess what? They play one of the worst teams in the league. Yeah, like here's the thing though. They had the bye. They escaped the winless Cleveland Browns the following week. They still looked bad offensively. And granted, they're playing a good defense. But Michael, come on, man.
I mean, listen, this team is just not last year's team at all,
I know, and that but
in
then the
terms of
following week they dominated the Giants. So in other words, it looks like the Charger game was when like they definitely made a lot of changes. So the big is this a conspiracy theory? Is it a conspiracy
what?
theory
I don't know
to
what you're
think,
talking about.
that Kevin Patullo's role has been more diminished than they want to let
Yeah,
on?
this is a conspiracy theory. I don't think they're banishing Kevin Patullo, but keeping it in-house and keeping it on like, maybe an article will come out and it'll just be like Scott Loeffler had a little more say in meetings or something like that. I don't know. I really don't care, to be completely honest. Like, it's just start doing your things that work and start executing them better. They're they have their things that they're bread and butter with, the little slide play that got or dropped a touchdown, but, like, that play it works a lot. It was the one they threw the interception with against the Chargers. They wanted to redeem themselves, be like, "That's our play, we need to take it back, we can't be scared to run it," and it works pretty much every time. It works so well that it was helping out the run game a lot because you have the tight end getting ready to come across and the play action going the other way. Jeremy Chin is flying across the field, keeping his eyes on what's going to be Goddard and Hurts, and totally vacates where Saquon takes the handoff for a nice pickup of like 8 yards. And, you know, that's building off each other. That's building plays off of things and running things because the defense is going to react this way to it as opposed to running things based on what the defense is like forcing you to do. Putting pressure on them is how you succeed in football on the offensive side of the ball. And it was nice to finally see that. And again, it's just the Raiders. They're not one of the worst teams in the league. They have every bad vibe surrounding them. But this is how you're supposed to play when you play a team that poorly. We've seen, you know, this team like the Panthers last year and, mess around in games that they should be dominating. And you see it across the league every week. And it's good to know that this could really be a get right game, especially because you play another bad opponent this week. So it should be something you can continue to build
Yeah,
on towards the playoffs.
last year with this crew, what I even in 2023, whenever they would play like a bad team, they would never like blow them out. Like if like I got their 2024 schedule. Well, I had it pulled up, but like the Falcons game, the Saints game, the Browns game, the Panthers game, all like teams that are bad that are non-divisional opponents, so teams they are not familiar with. They were all like close, like one possession games. Obviously, like the Cowboys games were blowouts. The Giants games were
Yeah,
blowouts.
like that's the difference. Like they were still able to take care of business. It's You're not going to blow out every bad team you play, but this year it just
They would play the Eagles play up to competition where they would also play down to a lot of their opponents last year, which doesn't matter in the playoffs because you're playing good teams.
yeah, yeah. So it's nice to see them do that this year, and it's nice to just
Well, the
see
one thing I
Jalen play
noticed a
confident
lot,
too.
well,
Yeah.
one thing I noticed a lot of was that they ran way less hitches and more crossers. And look, like we're very much like I think to a certain extent, a lot of people, like especially like as fans, we have this ideology where if we just do one thing, it will just fix everything. And listen, the Eagles running more crossers isn't going to like solve the offensive line issues.
Right.
However, it will help a lot when you watch. Like we'll talk about a lot of these games. You see, like the Broncos running a bazillion crossers, and like Bo Nix, and like the Packers and the Broncos. That game with
Right, right, right.
that game.
So, yeah. I mean, it's nice to know that they can just do it, and I hope they just continue doing it. We saw some creative stuff with Goddard faking the block and then leaking out underneath, and that was a huge pickup because everyone just abandoned. And it's coming up with creative ways to get guys open and having plays that are set where like this is what we're designing to get open, and it's going to be good as opposed to AJ, go in your slant route every single time. We want to run it because that's pretty much the only thing that's going to work as the first read. Because by the time Jalen is like, it's not open, the routes on the other side of the field are already done and nothing's good there. So it's nice to know that they're building things in like this. And hopefully, Jalen stays confident. I don't want them to go in the turtle shell. And hopefully they learn some things a little bit in the run game. And listen, you play three more dog shit, really defenses, but especially run defenses the next 3 weeks. It would behoove them to continue to establish and develop their running game um, before the playoffs come around. You have an opportunity to clinch on Saturday, and it'd be nice to put some pressure on to try to get a top two seed, as well as figuring some things out ahead of the playoffs. But overall, was very encouraged, and I'm excited for them to play again Saturday.
Did you hear that?
Mm-mm.
There's a loud noise that happened outside my apartment.
Like thunder?
No, it's like someone dropped something or something outside.
Maybe they dropped a package or something. Interesting. No, I did not hear that. But yeah, so to move on to some Sunday games, I don't really think there's a need to talk Giants Commanders.
We can.
Um,
You sent me the link. We'll just go through. Just maybe talk about
we
certain.
could,
Like we could talk about a couple takes or, you know, about the game. So like Browns Bears, like I the Bears do feel like the team that's just going to beat every bad team in the Eagles, and they might struggle against good teams, but they're one of the hottest teams in football, and you know like I'm going to assume Shador is going to be the starting quarterback for the Browns next year. I'm going to
I don't
assume
know.
that.
I don't know if I can make that assumption confidently, I'll be honest. I mean,
I think I
it
do.
depends where they end up, you know, if they end up in a spot where they could take Mendoza or something, like
I don't think they're going to be in the spot to take Mendoza.
okay.
But
But
I'll
yeah,
say this though: Caleb Williams quietly having a really good bounce back season. Like if they had like an NFL had like a most improved player award, like he'd probably be the front runner for it.
yeah, yeah, he should, and he deserve it too because he's playing pretty nice now. Still on a down to down basis, his accuracy can fluctuate. You know, we see that in their wins, we see that in his good games too. But his ability just to avoid sacks and really just run fast and create effectively outside the pocket and throwing some frozen ropes downfield in tight windows and sometimes hit some good throws with anticipation. He's proving that he really is going to be, I think, something special in the league. And just as a franchise, the Bears are feel like they're maybe a year away, maybe a year or two away. But for now, they're really making a push for that one seed. And listen, the way things have gone in the NFL and the way, you know, an effective run game can carry you like we've seen, they could make some noise. They could definitely make some noise. So yeah, big win for them, especially given what happened in their division as well. But the next game we have here, we have the Ravens at the Bengals. The Ravens took care of business in one of the ugliest games. It was freezing out in Cincinnati, and it was really a punt off for like 2 quarters essentially, and then the Ravens finally hit a big play touchdown and methodically got another one after a big pick six, and at that point, it was pretty much done. Bengals looked awful. Offensively, they looked putrid. Defensively, they were actually playing pretty fine for a while. But I don't know. This was just an ugly slop game, and the Ravens really like Lamar is just not healthy, and it tanked pretty much
Oh,
everything
it's
they
going to be
had.
worse when we talk about him this week because Lamar apparently he's sick with the flu.
Yeah, it's just every now and again, he just is not in a good state of health, you know, and it's just tough. But yeah, not much else to talk about in that game. What do we have
Oh,
next year? Oh,
Chargers Chiefs. Oh boy. Oh
yeah,
man.
there's a lot to talk about here. So
Oh yes, there is.
the game itself, the Chiefs lost, and the other things that needed to occur for them to miss the playoffs also occurred. So the Kansas City Chiefs, for the first time in a long time, 2014, I believe, um,
Missed the
have
playoffs.
been eliminated from playoff contention. And it's pretty crazy, you know, just to
Well,
contextualize
also
it.
too, man. I think in 2014 they had a winning record and missed the playoffs.
Right. And,
This will be the
you
first
know,
time Andy Reid could most likely finish the year with the losing record since 2012.
yeah, no, it's the Chiefs, like, they're this fall off, I guess, which feels like it's been a slow one for a couple years now, even though they went 15-1 last year, whatever, um, or 15-2. But they this is just a culmination of bad process. When you talk about the Patriots dynasty, and that's what it always gets compared to, and the era of dominance, Bill Belichick was always really able to consistently replenish defensive talent. He did that very effectively for like 18 years, and they never really had a bad defense until like the end. And you look at how they built the offense out is obviously Brady was there, and they had that first era of skill groups of your Dion Branch and stuff, and your running game was good. And then they went and got Randy Moss, and in that period of not winning Super Bowls but losing to the Giants twice, they were still really, really, really good. The Chiefs already look like they're poised to have like almost a multi-year downturn of not good football, whereas the Patriots, their break of their dynasty was just them losing in a Super Bowl twice and still winning the division all the time and still winning double-digit games all the time. They just weren't getting over the hump because it's a hard freaking thing to do. And then they break through by the time they get Gronk around and, you know, they were able to replace that talent and dominate for another 8-year stretch. And you look at Kansas City, what have they not been able to do? They
Draft well.
haven't been able to really, yeah, draft well, replenish their talent. Their defensive talent maybe wasn't as good as we thought it was, like Nick Bolton and George Karlaftis, like those guys really didn't hit their full potential. And besides like Chris Jones, who every year gets a little bit worse because he's getting older and closer to retirement, and Trent McDuffie, who's been banged up, it's really just a mid defensive unit that gets by because they can blitz
Yeah,
quarterbacks and get
so
intervened.
I mean, you're bringing up very good points.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed with Brett Veach was it's like when they drafted Mahomes, it was like Brett Veach, like, oh, I'm the guy that convinced Andy Reid that we should trade up to take Mahomes because Andy watched his tape and he's like, oh my God, he's like young Brett Favre when I was coaching him. We need to get him. Like, let's do it.
Right.
And then they do it. Mahomes, similar career arc to young Brett Favre. I mean, except way more success, but like,
Yeah, no, I mean,
MVP.
he's infinitely better, I think,
Right. Yeah, of
out the
course he
gate.
is. I'm just
He's
saying,
having the
like,
best start to his career into any NFL career, all the
right.
wins, the awards,
Well,
accolades, and then, you know, before we get into his injury, the offensive side of the ball has struggled for 2 years really because 'cause they've been just trying to control the clock, control the possessions, because they haven't yet even replaced Tyreek Hill. I know they've won Super
that's
Bowls
hard to
since,
do.
but they haven't come close, though. They haven't gotten any great receiver. Travis Kelce, since Tyreek Hill left, has just he's getting old. He's getting older and is not as effective as he once was. And between guys like Sky Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown, uh, Kadarius Toney, even um, now Xavier Worthy and Rasheed Rice, who's the best one, but still he has his limitations. All those guys that I just named weren't that good. They're just not, they're okay. And like Justin Watson, and they're just a bunch of fine players that, you know, they've relied on Andy Reid's scheme to just get them open all the time where Mahomes can hit them and they have room to run and they're able to just kind of get first downs and kill the game and score touchdowns in the red zone. And when Mahomes needs to throw on his Superman cape and Kelsey's always on the same page with them, yeah, it works out. It's a winning formula. You have a great offensive coach. But maybe as Andy Reid's style has taken a bit of a slip, his aggression ear isn't as good and all that sort of stuff.
Well, that's always
The
been his
the talent,
aggression has
right, but the
always been
talent the talent
spotty.
warts are showing. The talent warts are very strong, and all this culminates into, even if Mahomes is healthy these last 3 weeks, they're still missing the playoffs, and they're still arguably gonna finish under 500, and, that's not something that the Brady Patriots really did. They didn't let it get this bad, even though it doesn't feel
The
that
thing with the
bad.
Brady Patriots, you hit the nail on the head is that they were so good at just finding replacements and like I don't know, they had like their style, they had their scheme, and like Bill controlled both sides of the ball. And he's just an offensive guy. And he's very reliant on Spags because he was very reliant on Jim Johnson. But what you just
And
brought up,
again, Spags, another guy. He may have started to pass you up a little bit,
I would agree because like anybody that's tuned into the NFL right now, if you're like a team that's going to bring in a new head coach, you're going to want to emulate the defenses of the Texans, Eagles, Broncos, where you
Fangio scheme. Like that's where you're
send
trying to.
four guys, not blitz. If you're going to blitz, disguise it. Don't just be like, oh, it's 3rd and 5. We're going to blitz.
But
Like,
don't blitz a lot. They
like,
blitz all the time, and it
you
kills them.
know, where it's like with you're right. Like you saw it in the Super Bowl with the Eagles. The Eagles knew what they were going to do.
Yeah, and in that game, like you see it in the. You just see it this year a lot. You get a lot of mid quarterbacks that are able to just avoid the negative plays because they have teams are better at drawing up answers to the blitz these days. It just is what it is.
Can I bring
So
up one
all
last
that to
thing though with
say,
the
yeah.
Chiefs? And then we'll talk about the Mahomes injury. Is their owner's just cheap.
Oh yeah, no, they're a cheap
And when I
team,
say
cheap
that, I
franchise.
mean like you look at their team, like they could probably do restructures, free up cap space to retain or acquire like good players, Michael. But because the Hunts just don't want to spend the money like a Jeffrey Lurie does to like redo contracts, it makes it hard to like stay on top. Where if you look
Yeah,
at the
I mean they
Eagles,
traded their best offensive lineman away. Joe Tooney, and
he's the Hall of Famer.
yeah, and like they weren't aggressive at the trade deadline for Brees Hall, and those are just little things that it all just adds up, and it culminates in this type of season. And the cherry on top for it just feels like this type of injury where Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL and LCL and got surgery on Monday as pushing getting ready for next year, and like just the microcosm of the whole season. Mahomes trying to do too much and it's not working anymore. And this is this is this is the result you get, and they're going to be playing Gardner Minshew for the next 3 weeks in meaningless football. This isn't them losing in the playoffs. This is them being eliminated from playoff contention with 3 weeks in the season to go. Are you kidding? Like that's so bad. And again, it probably would have happened even if Mahomes finished the game. That's the crazy
We're gonna
part.
have a third place schedule next year. See, I have this weird feeling at the with this. So Mahomes is getting his surgery in December, Michael.
Hmm.
Would you be? I would not be surprised if I know he wants to rush back, but this is like when we talk. The term franchise player gets used to I think liberally nowadays. He is the definition of a franchise player. If you need to have him miss most of next year for him to be 100% ready to go, fully healthy. We're not going to rush him back and make this worse. Wouldn't it be kind of like a smart idea to just bomb next year and then just give Jeremiah Smith and there's your Tyreek Hill replacement? Or
I've
Robbie
heard
Williams?
that get thrown around, and it might be like they're almost at a point,
Kelsey's not
John.
coming back next year. Did you hear what he said on the podcast? He was talking about it. Like he was upset because he's like, that's his guy. His Patrick Mahomes is like his best friend on the team. But he's like, yeah, man, the Chiefs really rough situation there. He's talking about it like past tense. Like I'm out of there. Like I'm done. You know.
Yeah, no, for sure. And John, I'll be honest, it feels like that whether he comes back week 1, whether he comes back in October or wherever, I'm not saying they're going to be, you know, picking 4 in the draft bad, but I don't see how in one off season you're just going to fix all these problems with the Mahomes, coming back from an injury to even be good enough to make the playoffs to begin with. They might just miss again. That division's only getting better. The Broncos aren't going to go anywhere. The Chargers are probably going to get some better strokes of health. And like that, all of a sudden, that division is improved to what it is this year. And like, can you bank on another down Lamar season? Not really sure
No.
about that. Can you, the Bills aren't really ever, they're not going to be going anywhere. The Patriots should, in theory, be getting better. The Texans should be getting healthier and better. Like, the AFC is going to be beefing up, and you're going to be like with some band-aids on and a limp at the park trying to play. And I don't know if you're going to be equipped for that. That
It
maybe you
also
should just sit
doesn't
out.
help that a lot of these AFC teams, namely the Broncos and the Texans, have basically built their teams now to take advantage of your biggest weakness, which is being able to stop a four-man pressure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's something.
And the other two have quarterbacks on par with Patrick Mahomes
Right.
when they're healthy.
And yeah, so Chiefs are in a weird spot. As far as the Chargers go, they're just winning games really ugly. I do not trust them at all in the playoffs because
Oh
of the
no.
offensive line. Um, but it looks like they're going to make it there. So we'll be seeing another Justin Herbert playoff game. It'll probably be another not his fault game, but he's probably going to lose with
Yikes.
not a pretty stat line, and it's just not going to be good for his narratives, and it's going to be tough. But we'll have to wait to see that. Next game we have here worth of note, the New England Patriots took on the Buffalo Bills. The Patriots, with a win, would have clinched the AFC East, but they fell to the Bills 35-31. Um, they were down 21-0. New England jumped out to a huge lead. The Bills just couldn't move the ball at all. And then at the end of the half, they got a touchdown. New England answered with a field goal right as halftime was expiring, and they were up 24-7 at half. It really felt like it was done, but that touchdown was the start of 5 straight touchdown drives from Buffalo. And, you know, New England's defense got very, very beaten up and softened up, and Josh Allen continues to have crazy good second halves this season and really started leading the team along with James Cook to great offense and a great come from behind victory. And the Bills defense tightened up a little bit. Drake May, I didn't think was terrible, but I didn't think it was his best game. Definitely feels like a MVP costing type of loss. And outside of some Travion Henderson home runs, which again you can't like hold him back for it, but he had two of them. The Patriots struggled to sustain some drives, and it felt like after that second long touchdown run, that was going to be it. And the Bills went right back down and scored again. So I got to give them credit. They played
Yeah,
well
well,
from
see, the
behind.
problem with that, so like, here's the thing with the Patriots, though, is man, this was like the worst roster in football last year, Michael. Right? Was that
Hmm.
pretty much kind of universally agreed upon, potentially?
Sure, sure,
Right? They had a nice offseason. They're much more well coached than last year's team.
right.
This is what happened. It's God. You're gonna wow. I can't believe I'm gonna say this. You know when the Flyers have to play like a good team and they're overachieving and they just look like they stand no shot at winning in a lot of these games.
I mean,
Isn't
wow.
that
This
isn't that kind of like what happens with the Patriots have to play a good team? Like the
I wouldn't
Patriots, I think
say
the Patriots and
you're
the
giving the
Bears are
Patriots,
at
the
high
Flyers.
risk, I think, of losing their first playoff
You're
game.
either highly giving the Flyers too much credit, or you're really dragging the Patriots down. I don't think they're anything amazing, but I do think they're a lot better than the Flyers. But the Patriots, the problem is that, like you said, they are playing above themselves. They're taking advantage of an easy schedule, but they're able to hang in still with good teams. They didn't get blown out here or anything. They did beat them before out in Buffalo, like earlier in the season when they maybe weren't as good either.
It was
And
also when the Bills had like a bazillion injuries. Now the Patriots have
I
some
mean,
injuries.
sure, right. So I think the Patriots aren't going to get blown out in the playoffs. I don't necessarily think they're whatever, but they're still in a good spot to get, a 1 seed potentially. Listen, we'll see how they look this week against Baltimore. That's a huge test for them if they can get back on track against what's still really a struggling Ravens team. But if they go out there and lose, then we can really start saying, okay, this team's gonna they might choke the division away, if they lose to Baltimore. So that is not out of the question, especially with that game there, that
Yeah.
they could have just clinched, and they couldn't finish them off. So
Uh,
um,
listen, Commanders
what's next?
Giants, real quick.
Okay.
Great process loss for the Giants. I mean, Dart plays well. They still lose. They still preserve the tank. Scatterboo drank White Monster out of a cleat. Ha ha ha. Real funny. I mean, Commanders, the Eagles playing this week. We're going to talk more about them. But holy hell, mismanaging Jaden Daniels. Now you got to play Mariota the rest of the year. Man, it does not feel good when your fans are like, why is Jaden Daniels struggling, and why does the offense look better when Mariota's cooked
Yeah,
body?
no, Daniels
That's
is not.
bad. Like that should be
Daniels has a
alarming.
lot he needs to figure out by next year. That's for sure. He's way too careless with his body. Um, I saw a crazy stat that he has one of the lowest scramble throw rates in the NFL. He's really one of those guys that he scrambles to run. He doesn't scramble to make a throw as much as a guy like Lamar does or Allen does or Mahomes does. He tucks in, he's going, and takes a lot of hits from it, man, and it's just stupid. And that was a big knock for him coming out of college, and he just hasn't learned. He just hasn't had the concussion injuries the way that Jackson Dart has had, where it isn't really getting the attention, but it should be getting the attention. That a lot of the damage that he does to his body is his doing. He puts himself in harm's way a lot of the
Yeah,
time.
because it's funny too. Like Lamar is
He had
so good.
unprecedented playing all games last year, only dealing with a little injury, to his ribs for a couple weeks. That is, I think, never gonna happen in his career again.
Do you notice with like though, not to bring it back to Lamar, but Lamar is so good at avoiding taking big hits, and he still gets like he's still dealing with injuries this year from probably getting hit, not
He's
being able to.
pushing too much, having to be the superhero on the team, like, it
Yeah,
it takes a toll on your body when you're playing quarterback and doing everything so much as opposed to just having some of the easy stuff. Jags, Jets, not much to say other than Trevor Lawrence played awesome, and talking about taking care of business against the bad team, that's exactly what the Jags did, and Liam Cohen, man, is absolutely cooking. The Jags play design and their scheme has been tremendous. They really are using ETN well as a receiver. We talked about what he could bring to those running backs, like the way Tampa had success under him with Rashad White and stuff. So not
he's
surprising
kind of
and
like a
very
souped
impressive.
up version of Rashad White.
Yeah, yeah, it's all the things he doesn't do well, he does well, right? So it's it's a very impressive, and I think Jacksonville, they're gonna really push for that division with Houston, and I think they're gonna be a tough out in the playoffs, man. You keep as long as Lawrence doesn't kind of spiral, I think they can beat pretty much anybody, I'll be honest with you. Um, Speaking of Texans Cardinals, another similar great team beating up on a bad team.
I
The
mean, the
Texans
Texans are the
defense,
hottest team in pro football. They started out 0-3, and they're 9-2 in their last 11 games with some very impressive wins, shall we
yeah,
say.
no, they're scary too. The Texans, I think, play the Jags. I want to say the Texans play the
I don't think
Jags.
they play
Oh,
the
they're
Jags.
done. They already played them twice
They lost the first game, then they came back to win the second
and
one.
win the second game. Damn, I really wish they had another game. They might meet again in the playoffs. The way those teams are moving, they could finish, you know, potentially like 3-6 and play each other there, which that would be pretty nuts.
Right. CJ
So
Stroud, dog. I mean,
yeah,
very
he's good,
criminal.
man.
I think he's very criminally underrated. It's like he had the great rookie year, had the sophomore slump due to the bad O line, bad OC, maybe some lack of hubris on his part, putting himself in top 5 QB conversations. Michael, I think he's good. He's won 2 playoff games. Like everyone's like, oh, Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's a better quarterback than CJ Stroud. But you would talk about PR, like Justin Herbert, S tier PR, CJ Stroud, like B tier PR.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So
know, the Cardinals, though, real quick, Jonathan Gannon is reportedly not going to get fired after this year, and people are like shocked by
I
that. I'm
mean,
a
I'll
little.
believe it when I see it. I could see him very much getting fired. I don't know. Like, all the stuff
Pew
really isn't
pew
that
pew
good,
pew pew
and
pew.
then you take on he hit DeMarcado or whatever, it's not good.
That's not a good look.
Um, no. Next game we have another tough one. The Denver Broncos defeated the Green Bay Packers at home by 8, and Bo Nix played the best game of his season for sure. He
Best game of
was
his
pushing.
career.
Yeah, probably. He's pushing the ball downfield well. He was making a lot of plays with his legs. He definitely has a lot of juice with the lower half. The accuracy is still what I've come to terms with is like Bo Nix can maybe eventually get to a spot where he is more liked as like a Baker Mayfield, where Baker they are very similar quarterbacks. They're very jittery in the pocket with their feet. They have some pretty big arms, in that like 10 to 20 seam ball range. Like those are the specialties, the big plays that those two quarterbacks hit. They don't really throw a deep ball all that great. And like again, the accuracy just as a whole is very fluctuate. But Bo Nix, I think, is a better bit of a he runs with a little more intention, I think, at times. And listen, he broke Micah Parsons' ankles to the point of him tearing his ACL. So that's a really impressive play. That's a really impressive movement. And the Broncos were struggling for a good part of this game on offense, but as soon as Micah Parsons went down, um, he started cooking, and the Broncos offense really took off. And the the biggest thing that this showed is that how much that Packers defense really was a one-man army, that hit Micah Parsons' impact was just making everything else look so much better because he goes down, the pass rush is very, very little, and, they do miss Kenny Clark's presence in, like, the run defensive department already, even with Parsons out there, and then you take out Parsons, and now the D-line
Well,
is
here's the
not
thing
looking
there
very
too,
good.
man. Like Parsons was dealing with a back. Micah Parsons was dealing with a back injury.
Maybe back in training camp, right?
Well, he wasn't playing a lot of as many downs as he normally did to start the year. Now he tore his ACL. Like he obviously wasn't 100% entering the season. Now same thing with Mahomes. Like I don't think there's a guarantee that he's a lock to be 100% by week 1 next year. And they
No,
made
we're just back to himself, week 1 next year, like,
we don't
that's the
know.
biggest thing
So too
too.
that's the anxiety part of it too. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
it sucks, man. If I was a Packer fan, I would be very, very, very upset, after this game. Zach Tom also went down with an injury. Christian Watson also got hospitalized with an injury, seems to be fine, thankfully, but I
he's
would
likely
just
going to be
be
held out this week against the Bears as a precaution.
yeah, I would be pretty distraught after that game. That was rough, man, and
Well, you look at the Packers right now. No Tucker Craft. Wow. Packers passing game needed like a couple weeks to kind of figure out how to replace him.
I mean,
Christian
as
Watson
soon as
emerges
you
as
get your
right?
receivers back, everything else goes away.
Now Jaden Reed's back. So now it's like Jaden Reed's now kind of expected to be like, he's got to step his game up a little bit, He's, kind of what he was showing last year for them in that
Mhm.
offense. But to Michael, I agree, man. Like that Packer defense without Micah Parsons, that is a
It's
brutal.
season altering. I mean, they went from a team that was looking like, "Oh, this is up there with the Rams in terms of most complete teams in the NFC. They can run the ball well. Jordan Love's playing awesome. The receivers are playing well. The offensive line's stabilizing itself out, and the defense is playing really well thanks to Micah. Micah goes down, Tom goes down, Watson goes down, and it just all of a sudden things almost look bleak. And they have a humongous game this Saturday night against the Bears, and it'll be interesting to see how both those teams look with this injury. But I mean, the Super Bowl window for the Packers definitely took a huge hit for this season. Really a tough loss there, but a huge win for Denver. They're looking like the most complete team in the AFC if Bo Nix is going to be playing that well. So,
This is
which takes
definitely the
us.
most
Oh,
wide open the NFL has been in a extremely long time, and I think after the Michael Parsons injury, now it's even more wide open. Uh,
right.
let's go to the next team, Lions Rams.
Yeah, yeah. Lions, Rams. The Rams, the Lions defense we knew is very shaky, and it was just getting absolutely torched. Both teams' offenses were really cooking, but the Rams, or excuse me, the Lions just couldn't match the Rams like once, and that was pretty much enough. Matthew Stafford
Well,
was
both these
struggling.
quarterbacks combined
Yeah,
for they combined for over 700 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, only 1 interception. I mean, Jared Goff outplayed Matthew Stafford. However, the key difference, and this, like you've said this several times, Michael, is that the interior of the Lions O line is really killing their ground game.
yeah. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs was almost a non-factor in this game. The Rams are really able to take him away, um, and that was pretty much the difference. I mean, Kyron Williams had a solid day on the ground. The Rams had a fine day running, but the Lions just could not run the ball at all. And
Well, him
not
and
that
Blake, I
Goff
mean,
played
Blake
poorly,
Corum and
but
Kyron Williams, Michael, I mean, 26 carries, 149 yards, 3 touchdowns, man. I mean, that's the thing with the Lions is I think I said this before to you. They can't beat good teams.
they just don't have the talent. They really don't. The
I don't think
interior
they have the
offensive
coaching.
line is yeah, yeah. I think it's both. I think the defensive injuries they seem to they're back again a little bit, but they're just adding up.
It's
Like
nowhere near as bad as last year, and I think Aaron Glenn is a very good was a great defensive coordinator. Kelvin Shepard, first year D coordinator. Like there needs to be some patience there. But man, like them stripping Johnny Morton of play calling duties and basically demoting him, and Dan Campbell taking over as the play caller, like the
I mean,
all
the Lions' offense has been good since he did it. The
it's
only
been.
game it
You're right.
struggled was
It
against us.
but it's to me. I just think that. I mean, if you're
It's I think yeah, go ahead.
like the Lions, I feel you look at like the window, like it's open, but like they need to go out in the off season, make more moves, and like they actually go out and take some swings in free agency, or like I don't know, like why didn't they call the Chiefs about Joe Tooney? Like
Sure. I mean, I think Frank Ragnow retiring unexpectedly really threw a wrench into things for them, but, um, I think it's just a talent thing with them. I do think that Dan Campbell has had some success calling plays, and I just think that the lack of interior O-line and defensive health has been drowning them a little bit. It's part of their identity to be tough and hard-nosed, and
do you know who's
sometimes it results in
also?
injuries.
I mean,
Laporta's been out all year. We haven't talked about that, really much. That he's been out for months now and is out for the season. So, like that's a big miss for them. And even their offense can still be doing well, but it's just all encompassing.
all right, next game, the bait game, Saints Panthers. Darn it, Michael! Like we said, this was total straight up bait.
Tyler Shuck, man, is once again looking pretty solid. Panthers defense we know is not good. They were being gift wrapped the division on a silver platter, and they just let it go. They just let it slip through their fingers and are really just going to make it come down to the two games they have in
The
the final
Saints
three
really
against the
are like an
Buccaneers.
annoying team to play. Like they're bad, but they're just annoying to have.
They're not good, but like they still just have a few guys. Like Demario Davis is
They're
still
like
good.
8-4, like 8-5 against the spread.
Yeah, the since they really made the change to Shuck, they've really succeeded in just having a solid enough offense. Kellen Moore has them able to throw the ball and move the ball. Not much, but just something more than what it was with Rattler. I think Shuck is showing you a good amount for the Saints at this point where I think you definitely have to make him, he's your starter next year, and you got to see how it looks again with some better, you know.
He's
I think you
very
got to take the
Kirkish.
reset
Like
year.
watching him
You got to
play,
let the money.
He's very Kirkish. Like
I
it's
think
like
he's got better legs than Kirk.
he's like awkward to watch, and you're like, what the hell is this? You're like, eh. And then he just saw, I don't know, in the fourth quarter, you're like, wow, like this is he's kind of impressing me. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So huge loss for the Panthers. That division's going to come down to 2 games against Tampa, and I have no idea what you're going to get from those 2 games. Truly, I have zero clue who's going to win those. Those two teams have looked both ends of the spectrum. You don't know what you're getting. Next game, really nothing to talk about. Niners Texans. Niners keep winning. They're a serious threat in the NFC, at least definitely record wise, and the Titans, another solid
I
process
mean,
loss. Cam Ward played well.
Jeffrey Simmons, the rare receiving touchdown sack game for him.
Sure, sure, yeah. But
That's it. Yeah. So,
Cam Ward looked good. That's it.
yeah, I mean,
Not
wow.
much there.
Niners easy schedule, stacking wins. They're tied for the best record in the NFL. The second best record in the NFC. No, they're second best record in the NFC. Like behind the Rams, obviously, and the Seattle. Well,
Yeah,
this is sorry.
they're
We'll
in a
talk about more of this. Actually, let's talk about this
yeah.
next game.
I
Wow,
had an echo
Michael.
going on, John. Do you hear that?
What?
Oh, I had an echo going on your side. Can you hear that? No, we're good. Okay, never mind. Um, yeah, the the Colts Seahawks. Funny one. Philip Rivers stepped in there, gave a very honorable effort, a very gutsy performance. He didn't play well. He didn't do much. The ball was like I was surprised. I read this, I saw this, I thought this all during the game and stuff that the Seahawks really did a lot to they were taking away the downfield, from the Colts. They were playing a lot of too high, and not that you gotta just throw the dogs at Philip Rivers, but it just felt like they were very conservative on defense against a 44-year-old grandfather playing quarterback, where it kind of felt like, you know, we know one thing about Philip Rivers, he's always been good at this. He doesn't really take a lot of sacks because he gets the ball out so quick, especially later in his career. And what do you think they're gonna do him at 44 years old? They're gonna have him try to get the ball out quick, and that's all he was doing was getting it out, behind the line of scrimmage, quick throws. And I think that the Seahawks could have played a little bit more aggressively on defense and potentially cause some more havoc,
Like
because they almost lost this game, man. Like, they
that?
almost
Yeah,
lost to Philip
yeah.
Rivers. And the Colts defense gave a very good performance. Sam Darnold really continues to struggle. Um, and they were able to barely escape with a win. It could not have been super encouraging, but as a Seahawks fan, I'd be willing to excuse it completely if they beat the Rams tomorrow. So we'll have to wait and see how that one turns out. That game will be humongous in terms of playoff implications in the NFC. But the Colts put out a tough effort. You can applaud Philip, and that's pretty much all you can do.
Yeah, I mean they had to field goal the Colts to death to beat them. Um I mean, I'll say this, like, to your point, Sam Darnold, like you mentioned, when was Daniel Jones going to turn back into a pumpkin? I mean, it does feel like right now we're seeing Sam Darnold
He
turning into
turned into
turn a pumpkin. But really, the big issue is the Seahawks running game has just fallen off a cliff the last few weeks as well. And like, hey man, you were hyping up Clint Kubiak doing this tremendous job, which he was for a while. But hey
I
man,
think you're
if we're gonna crap on OCs that we don't like Clint Kubiak's got to start figuring this out because
I mean, what's he gotta figure out? That his quarterback's struggling? Like, I think the direct correlation to the offense struggling is Sam Darnold not not seeing the field as well, and then now it seems like he's not trusting himself that much. He's very hesitant to push the ball
He's
downfield.
just struggled ever since the Commander game where he looked like the best quarterback on planet Earth.
Has it been that long since he's played well?
Kind of feels like it, doesn't it?
That I mean, that was definitely his last big, nice performance. I'm trying to think. I thought he might have had another decent one after that. Uh, after the played the Cardinals, he was 10 of 12 for 170 yards, touchdown, a pick. Then he threw the 4 interception stinker against the Rams. He played well against the Titans, and he played pretty well against the Falcons as well. Wants to say, but I mean, I hear you. He's definitely he's alternating between stinker, fine, like fine, good, stinker. Like he's been pretty inconsistent. And that's that'll be interesting when we talk about Thursday to decide a winner
He's
there.
very
But
Butlerish, and I feel like at a certain
huh,
extent.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Sunday Night Football. The Minnesota
Wow,
Vikings beat up
man,
on
when
the
you think the Dallas
Cowboys.
Cowboys have hit a new low, they find a way to surprise you.
Yeah, it feels like they were riding a very emotional high earlier in the season with some of the tragedy with Mark Sneeland, Marshawn, excuse me, with Neeland passing, and they were able to take that, and the trade deadline was a big deal with the Parsons earlier in the season, like all that sort of stuff. And they played some really inspiring, good football for a nice stretch of time there. But I think that can sometimes have a shelf life, and the just lack of talent, especially in the secondary and the back end of the Dallas Cowboys, has been very, very on display. And JJ McCarthy is the latest perpetrator to beat up on that defense. He played probably his best game of the year against Dallas. And again, they
85
didn't make it
points
too
in
difficult on him.
PPR.
Yeah, no, he played well, man. He played well. Jefferson finally was open, and they still can't seem to get on the same page. But um, you know, Nine played well. Got to give him credit, and the Cowboys couldn't keep up. Pickens really didn't do much of anything. Lamb was fine, but didn't his impact didn't really feel all that palpable, and it was like just an okay Dak game.
It feels like ever since
And
so
Aubrey missed 2 field goals. Like that's a huge,
that's
you know.
huge too. It does feel though, yeah, the Vikings had great field position, two missed field goals, and listen, when Aubrey's got like
Mhm.
a 50+ yarder, guess what? They're not gonna think about it. He's gonna kick it. You know.
Sure.
So, but when he misses those like 60 yarders, well, that's the risk reward you have to factor in. Oh, if he misses it,
Right.
well,
He just doesn't usually,
it's
and
basically the same thing as like a turnover.
yeah. So, two non-playoff teams, but that's pretty much the dagger in the
You
Cowboys
feel like,
season.
well, the Cowboys became a non-playoff team by losing this game, most
Right.
certainly. I'll say this though, Michael, the for the Cowboys, it does feel like to me. I thought that Schottenheimer was going to be a like one and done coach because he's the lowest paid head coach in football right now, and like very easy to fire him and then bring in maybe the coach you want. I mean, Dak is kind of having not the like
It's having a good year.
Dak has to like carry that team, and you have to sometimes wonder like I don't know, like you look
I
at
mean,
this.
John, I'll be honest. It's not the offense. That's not why they're losing these games. I mean, Javonte Williams is having the best year of his career, and the running game's been pretty good. And like, listen, Tyler Guyton got hurt, and like left tackle has been a bit of a disaster.
Like
And
who's like a defensive mastermind where Jerry's gonna be like, oh, I want
I
This
mean,
guy,
they're not
you
firing
know,
Brian Schottenheimer. Like, I think Jerry likes his guys in that sort of role, and he's getting good results from the offensive side of the ball. Listen, this was a team that we didn't have super high expectations for coming into the year because we knew, like, John, to be honest with you, the Cowboys are playing, I think, pretty much exactly how we expected them to play. The offense is good. They have big star power. They put up a lot of points, especially at home. And the defense is really bad. The defense is devoid of talent. And the Michael Parsons trade was like the ultimate. They were like, this is all before the Parsons trade. And then they trade Michael Parsons, and that's like the dagger in the defense. And it's been, it's showed like a few stretches of being good, but has largely been bad. And it's tanked them, to miss the playoffs here. So yeah, which takes us to Monday night, the last game of the week, and it was the Miami Dolphins, perhaps Tua Tagovailoa's final start as a Miami Dolphin against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers,
oh, it's not perhaps, it's going to be. Yeah.
yeah, Steelers won pretty easily, despite the fact that their offense wasn't doing a ton. Kenny Gainwell was very involved and played well. But the story has been kind of what the story's been since to his first year with Tyreek Hill, which was he can't create every time he moves. It looks like he is definitely going to get sacked every time. He doesn't trust his abilities to throw the ball downfield, and he really isn't good at doing that either. He threw that awful
His
interception.
his
It
stat
just
line is so deceiving, by the way.
Yeah, no, he had a lot of garbage time when they were down multiple scores, and they were just giving them all the underneath stuff in the world. It was total garbage time. But when that game was a game, Steelers were sacking him at will. He threw some bad interception where it's just how weak his arm is. He doesn't have the arm talent to flick something to the
It's not
sideline.
so much, dude. So the my description of Tua, I told somebody was like, I told him watching him play quarterback, it's like trying to boot up like a 2002 like Dell desktop computer like today.
It's slow. It is just slow
His
as shit.
processing ability, it's because of all the concussions. Let's just cut
It's
right to the
it's every
chase.
yeah, it's a lot of health
You can even
stuff.
tell when he has like these pressers, Michael, his cognitive ability, it's scary. It legitimately is scary, especially what we know about CTE and concussions. It's scary because you're like, oh my, like people like joke about it, but like
It's brutal. I mean, he does not seem like himself like he was in college, and, you know, he was officially benched
it's gonna be
today.
like a 30 for 30. It's gonna be like the
Yeah.
saddest. It's gonna be really sad.
Yeah, and he was benched today, for Quinn Ewers, and he was demoted to 3rd stringer, all the way behind Zach Wilson, who's now the backup,
You and I
and
pretty much hit the nail right on the head with this Quinn Ewers promotion.
yeah, no, I mean, it's just you're gonna see what you have and tank it out and whatever, but Tua, I think this almost makes it harder to trade him. It was never gonna be easy anyways. He's due, like, $51 million next year. Just a total fumble on the Dolphins' part. I think anyone
Right,
with a
and here's
brain.
the thing: they're gonna be able to ride on the Chris Greer was a bad GM, like
I mean,
fire.
that doesn't win you games, man, like that, I get
Well,
it, they can
no,
blame
no,
somebody for
the
it, but
Dolphins made a commitment today to tank the rest of the season, most likely tank next year as well. Right, they're gonna probably cut to a and have a massive like dead cap that they're like kind of like what the Broncos did with Russell Wilson.
they just screwed themselves by winning a handful of games. They're 6 and 8, like,
Well,
they're
the
not
thing
gonna be
that
taking.
besides Tua being bad, which we already knew, like let's be honest, we already knew he was bad. Michael, the Dolphins' defense has been pretty solid the last several games, but then they just got the Steelers maybe had their best offensive game of the season with Kenny Gainwell, with Kenny cooking, Jalen Warren cooking, Aaron Rodgers was 13 of 14. Pretty much it felt like everything he was out of his hand was like perfect. DK Metcalf had probably one of the best angry run touchdowns of the season.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, dude, like, they got
Yeah,
physically
the
dominated.
Dolphin yeah, it was just a they didn't it looked like they didn't wanna be out in the cold. That's really what it came down to. Um, so yeah, the Steelers, though they play the Ravens, not twice, but I did a whole deep dive on their common opponents just for the fact of the matter to be if the Steelers beat the Ravens, um, the Steelers are gonna win the division kinda no matter what, even if they lose the next 2 games because they'll have the tiebreaker over Baltimore, and they'll be tied record-wise. So, yeah, um, these next 2 games are almost meaningless for Pittsburgh. It'll be interesting to see how they go about those. Obviously, it's putting a lot of eggs in the basket of needing to beat Baltimore, but, um, yeah. So, that wraps up week number 15. We're on to week 16 now. Um, we have a Thursday night football game ahead of us, and it is a humongous, 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 humongous game. The Los Angeles Rams are heading to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. A lot of line movement. The line has swung. The Seahawks were a point and a half underdogs, and they're now a point and a half favorites. Devontae Adams is doubtful for tomorrow, and this is a tough one, man. I'm really like, Devontae Adams has been such a huge piece to that offense, and the Seahawks defense has been playing so well. But the Rams defense, while they did kind of get cooked by the Lions a little bit,
They have bad corners.
they have bad corners, and that is scary. That is very scary against Jackson Smith and Jigba, and even Rashid Shaheed is a guy that can stretch the field. It's
This
a bit
could be
worrisome.
like the Rashid Shaheed. Oh, remember him? Like he's pretty solid, right?
The issue is Sam Darnold, man. What Sam Darnold are you gonna get? If Sam Darnold plays well, I reckon that the Seahawks are gonna win the game. If he does not play well, I just don't think they got it. Granted, he threw 4 interceptions, and the Seahawks nearly won the game last time. So, at home, should they not the Rams are banged up, should they not definitely win? Feels like it, but I don't know, man. There's just a part of me that isn't believing in the Seahawks at
Let's
the
also
moment.
not forget that the Seahawks have Torrey Horton, Cooper Cup, JSN, and Rashid Shaheed as well. They have weapons. That's not the
Right.
issue to me.
The
It's
quarter
Darnold.
it's the quarterback.
It's
What are
Darnold.
you gonna get? What are you gonna get from the
That's what it is.
quarterback? Yeah. What are you gonna get
Michael,
from the
I
quarterback?
have I've been tooting my own horn about my Thursday night abilities, picking them. It's like, and I base it off of like feel and like the vibe. Michael, it's really a bad sign for Darnold when I have more confidence in Kirk Cousins' corpse outlasting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers than I do in Sam Darnold putting together a competent game. Even though all football logic should dictate the Seahawks should win this game, right? Revenge game, barely lost. Darnold still played like garbage juice in the first game, and they lost by a point.
Yeah, no, it is every logical point's going to the Seahawks, and
Can I just say my gut feeling is telling me I feel like Josh Allen just threw himself into the MVP race, as in maybe he's 2023 Lamar. When you look at all the factors around that Bills team, how they
yeah,
are worse than last year. This is probably one of the worst Josh Allen Bills teams since like his second year in the NFL, right? Like he
right,
is dragging that team right now.
right.
Don't you feel that maybe Thursday tomorrow could be like the Stafford locks up the MVP because he has like a monster game?
This is you talk about narratives and you talk about MVPs, and it's very important to have narrative-based games, and you think back to this MVP is gonna be I saw this laid out by Theo and some other people have agreed. if Josh Allen is your MVP, you're going with the 2023 Lamar MVP route, where he didn't have the most outstanding stats. However, he was clearly dragging a Ravens team that had some just issues. And part of it comes winning big games against playoff teams in big moments. And you think to Christmas night in San Francisco against the 49ers in a dismantling of that 49er defense. Lamar Jackson was incredible. You think of last year, even, even though Lamar didn't win it, but you know, Josh Allen, you think of Josh Allen's performance against Kansas City in what was that, December or November, where he had that big run to clinch the game for a touchdown. And, Josh Allen had a crazy come from behind victory against the Patriots. Is that going to be his moment? Or is this MVP going to be Matthew Stafford's, like 2021 Aaron Rodgers? It's a really good team. It's a really good supporting cast. And the quarterback, the veteran quarterback, puts up great stats and always is playing at a high level, feels like every week, has very little stinkers or anything like that, and leads them to a good record and a good playoff position. When you look at kind of the intersection of that, this is a huge moment, like you said. This could be the game that Matthew Stafford locks up the MVP if he goes on the road to Seattle to all but lock up the NFC West, all but lock up potentially the 1 seed in a road victory with one of your 2 star receivers being injured. That's something that maybe holds back his MVP argument, how good the receivers he has around him and how good the running back room's been. You take one away, if he's still able to have a crazy good day, I think he's gonna win the MVP, but if he struggles a little bit and just feeding it to Puka and the Rams are, punting a lot, whatever, then maybe it slips into Allen's favor. So, huge game for narratives, huge game for seeding, huge game playoff implications. Give me the Los Angeles Rams plus 1.5. I'm taking the Rams. I'm trusting Stafford. I'm trusting McVay's ability to win against a more inexperienced head coach, especially when it comes to big games. And I'm fading the quarterback that consistently comes up
Yeah,
small in big
FYI,
games.
wouldn't it be kind of fitting if like Stafford has this game and we're like, wow, like he's the MVP, and then
Yeah,
Josh Allen and the Bills beat the Browns like
Josh.
17-3, and then Miles Garrett breaks the single season sack record because Josh is just running around like a maniac, and then everyone's
Right.
gonna be like, "Oh, Josh Allen, like, oh, he's just holding on to the ball too long."
Yeah. No, this could be a huge week for
Because
narratives for
the
sure.
greatest pass rusher since like Lawrence Taylor breaks the single season like sack record. Like,
Right.
really? Like, are we
So,
doing that? Like, I don't know,
yeah.
man.
So give me the Rams, man. Give me the Rams.
I'm taking the Rams as well. I just don't. I mean, like I said, like it's like if I pick Seattle, I feel like I'm forcing it.
We're not trusting Darnold. That's really what this comes down to, and it's a shame because I like Darnold. I've been very pro Darnold since his resurgence last year in Minnesota, and I've been pro Darnold this season. And it's just hard to defend the last few weeks. He doesn't look like he trusts himself. He's in the pocket and he's not ripping balls downfield and trusting his arm that he's going to get it there to JSN or whoever. And I think that this is an opportunity for you to kind of cut it loose, man. I'm not saying like you're playing with house money or anything. So obviously you do have a decent bit to lose here with how tight the NFC is contested. But I think it's worth it and would do a lot of good if you push it and you pin a loss on the Rams here and you potentially steal the division because you'd be in a position to get a bye week. And for a guy that we're worried about how he plays in big games, wouldn't it be nice to eliminate one of the big games he has to play by advancing to the divisional round and not having to play on wild card weekend?
Well, it's not just that too, man. It's sort of like now you're the Seahawks. Let's even go big picture. Like, forget like this season for just a moment.
Well, I mean,
Dude, if he just bombs the rest
it's
of the season,
hard to
well,
forget
no, if
this
he bombs
season.
the rest of the season, if you're the Seahawks, it's like we have this team that's like a championship level team, defensive mastermind head coach. we're going to lose our offensive coordinator to become a head coach potentially, and our quarterback's a pumpkin.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
bad. Like what? Like what? Like, or like you know, we'll talk about this more on the weekend with like the Joe Burrow situation. But like, are they? Do you not have to commit to trading like 4 first-round picks for Joe Burrow? I don't know. Like,
No, I don't know.
I don't
The
know.
Rams might do that before you, and then you
Rams
know,
might, the Rams are a better position to replace Stafford than you are to finding your franchise quarterback. Like, it's kind of, it's really, it's not a good situation. If Darnold, like, it's literally, this is the most important game of Darnold's career because this is going to basically be the, does he have it or he does he have it or
that's
doesn't he?
just it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting if he does flounder, if he'll get another chance because we thought he might have lost the opportunity after last year's playoff exit, and he was given another opportunity, and he's performed well above expectations for a team that has performed well above expectations. And similar to the Vikings, who they performed above expectations, can the Seahawks actually ride it and make a little run here? I think tomorrow will be a huge stepping stone, but I don't know. I can't trust that we're both taking the Rams. So
That's our
that
show,
is our
everybody.
show, everybody.
We will
We'll
see
catch
you
you
this
this
Saturday.
weekend. Yeah, I mean, listen, before I guess right before we wrap up, we have college football playoff this weekend, and by the time we meet again, we'll probably we not probably we will already know the result of the first round of one of the games, the college football playoff, the Alabama Crimson Tide at Oklahoma. So we'll know the end of that game, and we have a huge Saturday. Very excited for Saturday. Really good sports weekend. Rams Seahawks Thursday. Really good football weekend, I should say. And Alabama Oklahoma Friday, and then Saturday we have other first round games. We got 2 NFL games, and then a full slate Sunday. So enjoy the sports weekend, everybody.
Take care. We'll see you this weekend.
We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Phillies Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on Fired Up Sports, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.